Moving on. Our main story tonight concerns local news, the trusted place people go to find traffic, weather, and here in New York, the single greatest 10 seconds of television this city has ever produced.
At 11, pay more at the grocer, but getting less. We'll tell you how to get the most. The fuck are you doing?
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. That is Sue Simmons, by the way. She sadly retired in 2012 and has been missed every day since. Because if any city needs a news anchor with an ability to say, "The fuck are you doing?" it is New York. We've talked about local news a lot on this show, particularly regarding just how important it is to any community. We are constantly featuring local news investigations in our stories, and it isn't just important in a civic sense, it's a major moneymaker for stations. Nexstar, one of the biggest owners of local stations, said they earned nearly half their advertising revenue from spots aired during local news programming. But the need to both inform a community and make money has always been tricky to reconcile, as you can tell from this 1960s clip of Baltimore's Channel 11 News.
In Chicago today, white mobs threw rocks and bottles at civil rights demonstrators. That story after this message about Mash's ham.
He's a lover. No, not the kind you're thinking of. He's a ham lover. And all ham lovers know that Mash's hams are the best you can buy.
Okay, that is a very awkward transition to have to make. To go from teasing a story about a racist mob with a Mash's ham logo on your desk to a man who is, no matter what he says, definitely fucking that ham. Which is absurd. Why would you do that when instead you could be fucking Honeysuckle White's fresh ground turkey, the only ground turkey that's 93% lean and 100% fuckable. Get your fuck fill with Honeysuckle. Now clearly, maintaining journalistic independence from advertisers is critically important. So important, in fact, it's frequently referred to as the church-state wall. And the FCC has rules requiring broadcast stations to announce when content has been sponsored or paid for in any way. Unfortunately, many local stations have either completely broken those rules or violated the spirit of them through a practice known as sponsored content. It's where advertising is blended directly into the broadcasts, and it's both more widespread and harder to detect than you might realize. So tonight, let's talk about sponsored content. And let's start with the stuff that seems essentially harmless. People getting paid to hawk products on TV. There is an industry of lifestyle experts that do this, and here is one of them explaining the process to potential clients.
Brand integration is where a brand, its product, and the messaging are all worked together within the content of a show in a pre-planned manner. With so many shows offering integrated content, it can be hard to choose, but let's start with local, okay? We have a method that helps me get interviews in a snap.
Hi, Michelle.
Hey there, Jer Bear.
Hi, Michelle.
Hey, girl. How you doing? See? In an instant, we have access to shows across the nation that are ready for your content.
Wow. I gotta say, that is pretty impressive. The only person I can summon with a snap of my fingers is George Clooney. Watch. There he is.
Hello?
Hey, George. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. What are you doing?
I'm just showing people how I can summon you with a simple snap of my fingers.
I'm eating dinner. I gave you that power in a limited capacity, John.
Understood, George. Bye.
Bye.
See? The system works. But the truth is, Michelle didn't just have the power to make people appear out of thin air. She also, crucially, had the power to make them play along as she hawked horrifying products like these.
These are the new French's Crispy Jalapenos. One fun idea is to use it in this jalapeno cheeseburger dip. This is seriously everything you love about a cheeseburger in dip form. Take a look. Is this thing gorgeous or what? So this has just hit the party scene. It's the Velveeta Shells and Cheese Life-Size Liquid Gold Fountain. Okay, so a few things I love are Doritos, melted cheese sticks, and nachos. And now there is a way you can enjoy them all in one. These are Doritos Loaded. It is a totally new way to experience Doritos.
That's a really fun twist on a snack idea.
Isn't it?
No, it isn't. Now, that product has since been discontinued, probably because it looks less like a snack and more like someone deep-fried a fidget spinner. And you probably assumed Michelle was getting paid to do that. But interestingly, the station was also getting paid to have her on. And while the FCC requires sponsored content like that to be labeled, it has no requirements for exactly how or for how long. So for instance, in the case of Doritos Loaded, the disclosure came at the very end of the segment for just 2 seconds, with another barely visible reference in the credits at the end of the program for 4 more. So 6 seconds total, which is incidentally about the same amount of time Doritos Loaded stay in your body before being forcibly ejected from whatever orifice they're closest to. This practice can be so lucrative that many big chains have now set up templates for local shows built around sponsored content. Scripps has Morning Blend, Tegna has Great Day, Nexstar has Daytime, and Sinclair has what I can only assume is The Muslims Attack at Dawn. And it's not just brand experts joining by satellite. Sometimes local businesses will pay for an interview where they can script the questions and make sure that they're presented glowingly. Take Jim Hefner. Until recently, he was a financial advisor in Charlotte, North Carolina, who was on the local show Morning Break all the time and always introduced in very positive terms.
We have Jim Hefner. He is a certified financial planner. He's the president and CEO of Hefner Financial. He's a best-selling author and just an all-around great guy. Thank you so much, Mr. Hefner, for being back. You're a regular here. Thank you so much, sir, for being back with us.
You're welcome.
We like when you're here. We're so glad to have you back because you're going to help our folks get financially fit. Welcome back, Mr. Hefner. We love when you are here with us, sir. This man knows his stuff.
That level of enthusiastic co-signing seems pretty convincing until you remind yourself the station was being paid to say those things about him. It's the reason no one who gets a birthday cameo from Gary Busey thinks, wow, Gary Busey hopes I make it to 156 years old. He must be my best friend. Instead, they think, wow, Craig just wasted $350 getting Gary Busey to wish me a happy birthday. He must be my best friend. And it's worth noting that Hefner and the firm he worked for not only were ordered to pay $1 million in an arbitration case over claims he lost retirees' money, but 22 plaintiffs recently sued him, seeking damages related to the loss of $2.7 million of their investments, with one of them even saying that he trusted Hefner because he believed the longest-running Charlotte station would invite on trusted experts. And yeah, of course you would believe that. People trust their local station. That's the point here. And it doesn't stop at these local lifestyle shows. Companies have also bought their way directly into local news broadcasts. Back in 2017, Sinclair faced a $13.3 million fine from the FCC over segments promoting the Huntsman Cancer Institute, which were broadcast more than 1,000 times on local Sinclair stations with no indication whatsoever that they were sponsored. Some of these segments aired during the evening news. And in hindsight, the tone of the reports were suspiciously upbeat.
This complex machine is eradicating cancer without the invasive procedures. For patients like Jeff, this is welcome news.
If you're going to have prostate cancer, this is the time to have it.
In Salt Lake City, Utah, Mark Cabell reporting.
That is a hell of a positive spin. No time like the present to have prostate cancer. What are you waiting for? And despite how he signed off there, is Mark Cabell actually reporting? Because in retrospect, it seems more like Mark Cabell is parroting the absurdly sunny cancer propaganda of his business daddy's favourite money friend. But I will say this, at least that is an instance of a broadcaster acting so egregiously, the FCC was able to take action. A lot of the time, stations are doing just enough to stay the right side of the FCC, but that does not mean that they're not doing massive harm to their credibility. Because even when a sponsorship is properly disclosed, I'd argue that there are certain businesses local stations should not be selling themselves out for, especially when it comes to medicine, because a surprising number of segments on these shows are enthusiastic, uncritical showcases for expensive treatments or devices featuring claims that are, to put it charitably, medically dubious. Like this product, which made it onto a regular morning newscast in Utah.
Today we're talking about technology aimed to help men with a serious issue. Stephanie and Dustin Wolf, the co-inventors of the world's first clinically tested home-use shockwave device to treat erectile dysfunction and cellulite. It's called the Rocket.
This is the Rocket. So the Rocket works on the principle of low-intensity sound wave therapy, which has actually been around in Europe for about 25 years. It's very effective, it's safe, and the technology is FDA recognized.
Okay, first, that vibrating taint missile looks utterly terrifying. And while it has since been rebranded from the Rocket to the Phoenix, I'm not sure put this bird that destroys itself in fire near your penis is really much of an upgrade. But second, what does FDA recognized even mean there? It definitely does not mean it's FDA cleared, much less approved. And the FDA actually told us the Phoenix is registered with them as a therapeutic massager though, not as a device to treat erectile dysfunction. And at this point, I legally have to tell you, the manufacturer of the Phoenix says they make no explicit claims about treating ED, which is a little odd because their own website claims the Phoenix offers proven technology to make your penis harder and that you can complete this innovative ED treatment in the privacy of your home. All of which they presumably feel justifies its price tag of, holy shit, $879. But that is not the point here. The point is, if you're going to allow that product into the body of your local newscast, you might want to have some very pointed questions ready and not end the segment like this.
Of course, if you want to get more information, where they find it online, guys?
Oh, they can go to getmyrocket.com.
There you go.
Right.
Get that help you need for whatever ailment you've got right there.
Yeah, use the Rocket for whatever ailment you've got, especially if that ailment is having, let's say, around $879 too many dollars. And the thing is, that is far from the only weird medical product that's been presented uncritically during sponsored segments. Denver's Mile High Living featured a spa owner promoting this exciting new treatment.
Mona Lisa Touch is the first FDA-cleared laser to treat the vagina, and in doing so, it treats the symptoms of vaginal atrophy.
So the procedure itself, is it painful?
No, it's typically what you'll feel are mild vibrations. I tease, the next day you might feel like you have a sunburned vagina, but it's just healing.
Oh, that's okay then. It's just your typical everyday sunburned vagina, and only caused by a laser. So really just your typical everyday laser-roasted genitalia, which is just healing from the laser you deliberately burned it with, it being the inside of your vagina, your run-of-the-mill laser-charred vagina. And if using a laser as a medical pseudo-dildo seems like a scary thing to do, you have good instincts. Because over a year before that segment aired, the FDA issued a safety alert making it clear that they have not cleared or approved for marketing any energy-based devices to treat vaginal atrophy, and applying energy-based therapies to the vagina may lead to vaginal burns, scarring, and recurring or chronic pain. And the problem is, segments with dicey medical claims are just everywhere. Recently, the FDA has warned about the use of unapproved stem cell therapies, which they say can be harmful. But you would not know that to watch some of these shows. Here is a segment from Good Morning Texas, featuring a doctor who's been disciplined multiple times by the state medical board for separate issues, claiming his stem cell therapy can treat things like MS and Parkinson's, despite the fact that stem cells have never been approved to treat any neurological disorder. And it's not just him. Here is a naturopathic doctor making similarly baseless claims on a station in Arizona.
So what kind of conditions are you treating with this?
So we can treat so many different kinds of conditions. We can do it to joints. We've been doing a lot of that. We do a lot of systemic things as well, including had a patient with Crohn's disease recently, had a patient with heart disease who was in severe heart failure. Both of them, within a week of getting these stem cells, are just feeling great and improved to almost normal.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, indeed. That card there suggested he can treat Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, autism, MS, and ALS. It seems the only thing his stem cells can't do is help that station proofread their list of conditions can stem cell therapy benefit, because other than that, got you they covered have. And look, while there is no way of knowing exactly how many people are watching these shows as they air, that's not really the point, as this marketing executive at Nexstar explained to potential advertisers.
Now here's the deal. Most people think, okay, so I go on the TV show. I'm on TV, great, this is awesome. It airs at 4 o'clock, I go on, and great, and people seeing me, okay, so this is cool. I'm gonna tell you right now, when you actually go on and do that, that isn't even the cake. That's just the icing. You know what the cake is? The video file. At the end, you're gonna have a 4 or 5 minute video file. And you're gonna do what with it? Post it everywhere.
Okay, first of all, what is that motion? That is unnecessarily gross. This isn't how you represent cake and icing. This is how you bring a Mash's ham to orgasm. You give it the old wiggle and squeeze, and then a twist and a snap. Oh shit.
What is it?
Sorry, George. I'm sorry. That one was genuinely an accident. I was just trying to show people how to bring a mash's ham to orgasm.
That's not how you do it.
Oh. I guess that's good information to have. The point is, though, that marketing executive is right. The cake is the video file. And companies will take that video and run with it. Remember that naturopathic doctor who claimed stem cells are a treatment for Alzheimer's and autism? Here is his website, which proudly features the many times he was given an uncritical platform on trusted local TV. And you might think viewers should be smart enough to approach anything on these shows with skepticism. The thing is, though, many of these stations also swap figures between their newsroom and their sponsored content shows. At ABC4 Utah, for instance, Suraj Chin is both the channel's chief medical correspondent and a host of the sponsored content show Good Things Utah. And it really does feel like a line is getting blurred there. And look, ideally, stations wouldn't engage in this practice at all, or at the very least, their disclosures would be harder for their viewers to miss, and they do significantly more work to make sure that if they are letting someone buy their way onto their channel and present something as real, that it's not, in fact, total nonsense. Because right now, it's far too easy to make a ridiculous product that makes outlandish claims and get it onto local TV. And the reason I know that is, we did. We started a company called Venus Inventions and created something called the Venus Veil, an absurd medical product based on technology that absolutely doesn't exist. We set up this website and even hired an actress to brandigrate the shit out of the Venus Veil into shows it had no business being on. Did it work? I don't know. You tell me, ABC4 Utah.
I am so excited to talk with Erica Hernandez with the Venus Veil, a revolutionary new product on the line. What exactly is it? I'm so intrigued.
I'm so glad you are intrigued. So this is the Venus Veil. It is the world's first sexual health blanket.
Yep, that was on ABC4 last Friday, and I would love to tell you that it was difficult to get on, but it really wasn't. And remember, that's their chief medical correspondent. And it seems striking that she didn't have any follow-ups on claims that we made about the veil that you would hope a medical correspondent would immediately take issue with.
The veil is being designed with the hope that it will precisely draw out the natural alkaline undercurrents of the vagina and initiate a low-grade state of what we call microdeath, which sounds incredibly scary, but that's actually just restarting that area's natural life cycle. It's using this field of magnetogenetics I was talking about, and also a technology that's been around for a really long time that was pioneered in Germany about 80 years ago. So this is full of cutting-edge technology, but it just looks like a blanket.
Yeah, it does. And that's because it is. It is just a blanket. Also, technology that was pioneered in Germany about 80 years ago, I would have some questions about that particular period in German history. And I know that looks bad, but let's be fair here. It's just an isolated example. There was no way another station was going to fall for this, right? Absolutely no way. Is there, KView Austin? Because you wouldn't have let us pay to directly follow your 10 p.m. local news this Thursday, would you? There's no way that happened.
It includes some pretty interesting technology.
Yes, it does. So the team behind the veil was inspired by the field of magnetogenetics. But basically, your blood is full of iron, but it's dispersed in such a way that it isn't affected by normal magnets. So the idea behind the veil is that with the right blend of proprietary magnetic fibers, you can create a self-contained magnetic field that re-stimulates blood flow and gets you feeling like your normal self again.
Very interesting.
Is it? Is it interesting? Or is that obvious bullshit that definitely shouldn't have been on in the same hour of coverage as the ceasefire in the Middle East, a shortage of lifeguards in local public pools, and an investigative piece on criminal justice and bail reform? One of these things is not like the others, and it's definitely our Nazi-era fuck blanket. But surely, if you saw this blanket in person, in a studio, then you would know not to enthusiastically co-sign on the completely baseless claims being made right in front of you. You would protect your viewers from that happening. Wouldn't you, Denver's Mile High Living?
This is meant to treat sexual conditions, but a lot of people are really embarrassed to talk about their sexual health, right? So it was designed to be something that's really discreet and also really stylish, so you can have it in your home. And it really, I mean, could it look less like a medical product?
Yeah, no, it doesn't look like that. You know, again, it's one of those things I think a lot of people right now are looking to enhance their lives, but they also don't want anything too invasive. So
yeah.
this is something where, again, you're not needing a prescription or anything like that as well.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Erica. Thanks so much for coming in today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for making it so easy. This is
Yeah,
great.
super easy.
Yeah, super easy. You can even argue way too easy. Because the truth is, none of this was nearly difficult enough to get onto TV, and it wasn't even that expensive. That cost just $2,800. This one cost $2,650, and this one only cost $1,750. It was all shockingly affordable, and sadly, on some stations, didn't even look that out of place, and that is not good. Because as we have said for years now, the integrity of local news is crucially important, and there is real harm for everyone if that integrity is damaged. So to the owners of these stations who are selling them out at a depressingly cheap price, I have a simple question. If I may quote the words of a very wise news anchor, the fuck are you doing? That's our show. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see our Venus Veil segments in full, the whole cake, if you will, you can go to venusinventions.com. Good night.